First leg's over then. That's the first goalless first leg in a League Cup semi-final for 13 years. Bit disappointing it was too. 2-1 at Manchester City beating Bristol City last night. Chelsea, Arsenal goalless this evening. So we'll do it all over again in 2 weeks' time. It'll be Tuesday the 23rd at Ashton Gate for Bristol City against Manchester City, and Arsenal against Chelsea at the Emirates on the following Wednesday the 24th. We didn't, not the Premier League spectacle we saw between these two sides, was it?
No, I was just thinking they're perhaps a little bit too familiar. They played each other, what, 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago, and they've played again tonight. And one or two of them looked a little bit tired. It didn't have the energy of last night's game, that's for sure. And I think Chelsea just edged it. I think at home they created more chances, didn't take one or two that perhaps they should have done. And they've been more disappointed at the two sides.
I think just looking at the two teams before the game, I brought up that on paper, looking at that Arsenal team, they can't really beat Chelsea. So I think the ambition of tonight's match was for Arsenal to be well into that second leg. And you can look at how many opportunities they created with very, very few, which tells there was not a massive ambition to be in the last third, but stop Chelsea scoring. I thought defensively, compared to the Arsenal-Nottingham Forest game, it was chalk and cheese. Arsenal were at it tonight and really subdued the Chelsea front line, gave them limited opportunities, a lot of long-range shots, not that many clear-cut opportunities.
We'll dissect it all when we return and show you some goals that did. Trevor Steven, Alan Kirbishley.
Well, as you said, it's a work in progress, and I think we've got to go through these teething problems. And the idea of it, as I can see, is that a better decision will be the outcome. And if we can accept that whenever it's used. But the problem I have is, what are going to be the real incidents when it's used and when it's applied? And at the moment, I think we're still confused about that. One or two things tonight. I thought, well,
do you think
why go to VAR in that instance?
Quite. Were they a bit over-eager? Do you think VAR is having too much of an input into it?
Yeah, well, I don't know why they went to the push, unless they were going to do something about it.
That must come under the red card category.
Absolutely.
Because that's I remember of the four criteria.
Well, they must have said to him then, there's been a scuffle in the box, Chambers has pushed over Azpilicueta, we don't think it's a red card. And he must have said, well, I didn't see it. So, because...
This is it. He gives him a shove, right?
You've seen people sent off for that.
Yes. Well, you see Azpilicueta on the floor, so maybe Martin Atkinson only sees the end of that
and he's asked what's gone on.
Yeah, exactly.
So
would that be a red card?
They're saying that's not a red card then.
Yeah. So they're saying we're satisfied at that.
Yeah. Sometimes you wonder who was refereeing the game, though.
That's it.
The other side
at half-time, what the VAR, PGMOL said, VAR would have said, hold the restart to the ref. The VAR is then check the replays. This is for the penalty incident that we'll just see in a minute. They're happy that it wasn't a clear and obvious error, which Martin Atkinson thought at the time that it wasn't a penalty. When Moses went down, then it says the check is complete and and basically play continues.
I think they've actually been quite lucky that the ball's gone dead.
It's there.
Yeah, and
incident.
the ball's gone dead on every occasion.
Yeah.
Because if the game was carrying on and then we had another incident, i.e. a goal or whatever...
He's saying, sorry, Alan, he's just saying, let's just have a look at that.
Yeah.
Just have a look, just have a look.
And that's because... But what if the ball wasn't dead?
And his decision was that there was no foul. There was nothing happened. So he's just wanting confirmation.
What I'm saying there, Trevor, if Moses keeps the ball in, like I said, make the challenge. Now Moses goes after the ball and keeps it in. They go down the other end and score.
They'll then look at it.
Well, he'll be asked to look at the... And then he'll give the goal.
Yeah. Now this one, same again. This doesn't go out of play.
No.
Not yet. And then he's waiting. Too much time?
I think what's going to happen is going to be so many scenarios that we're going to have to go through and live through. And
well, it's not a penalty, is it?
No, it's definitely not a penalty. No, there's no definitely gets his foot to the ball.
He ain't supposed to do that.
No.
Yeah, he's not allowed to do that, is he?
Well, if players aren't, then managers under the same jurisdiction.
They've been instructed, the managers, not to go to the actual screen. That's a bookable offence. Well, Wenger can't, but, you know, he's upstairs. But Conte, if he'd have run over and tried to see the replay, he'd have been booked.
I would have loved to see a picture of Wenger, just in case he was in the stand doing that. Oh, was he? No, he wasn't.
It's funny enough, he's up there with the press boys. They've all got
monitors. They're watching the screens.
They've got all the screens. I think so far, if we're going to assess VAR, it's worked, and we've had no real controversies, have we?
You got the right decisions.
Yeah.
But the fear is, Big Brother's watching you the whole time, and wanting to get their paws in.
Yeah, back to Alan's point. Who's shouting in whose ear? Is it coming a lot from the referee, or is it coming from VAR? And I've got to get that balance right.
There's two incidents that I think may be eradicated from the game. One might be the real outrageous tugging on corners and free kicks.
Yes.
Because now the players know that someone's watching. And perhaps simulation. That, I think, is something that, is still there. We're still seeing it happen. And perhaps the players will
violent conduct as well.
Yeah, off the ball incidents.
Yes. Off the ball incidents.
Yeah.
But in actual terms of goals, there's always going to be an opinion somewhere. Well, sometimes there's always just going to be an opinion. So it's not going to be 100% every time. I think we need to accept that.
Yes, but it should be factual. It shouldn't be a matter of opinion.
I think with the Glenn Murray situation and Hawkeye and everything else, they need Snicko.
Because you've been watching too much cricket.
I've been watching you. Because as it's come across, I think a lot of people were saying it might have hit his arm. Well, it's hit his knee first.
Yeah.
And then we need to know if there's another noise.
Two noises or one. Was it bat pad or just bat, or was it just pad? But I mean, there is a real interest and an issue, basically, is how much it interferes with play. And just watching it from here, whether we felt we were given enough information, and I think that is the issue. When in the other sports, you talk about cricket, you know what's going on. Rugby, you know what's going on because the referee is talking, and the communication issue is very important.
And obviously, you're going to have some fans who will be able to see the game on their phone or whatever while they're watching it, and they can be saying to their mates, "Oh, they're having a good look at this one. Oh, they've got it wrong." Perhaps perhaps the fans should be, because at rugby you actually see the replays, don't you, on the screen?
Absolutely, yeah.
And cricket you probably do.
And then the referee makes the decision. I mean, there may be a suggestion from the TMO, but there's actually the referee who's ultimately going to make the decision.
I thought as well, when watching that game tonight, when the VAR was being used, you could hear unrest in the crowd because they couldn't see anything, and they had to wait and see what the decision was. There might be some anticipation of that, but on a freezing cold night, you just want to get on with the action.
Yeah.
Do you know? And so I found that a little bit strange. The other thing I found slightly strange was the speed of VARs giving the referee a definitive version of what they've seen. And the one particularly where Maitland-Niles is brought down by Moses, or potentially brought down, there were two instances in that where there was contact in the challenge between Moses and Maitland-Niles, and whether Maitland-Niles dived afterwards. So there were two considerations there, and it just seemed to get back to the referee's ear very, very rapidly.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously will look at it. And in a big incident like this, Bosh, he's gone down, they'll be going, right, play that one back, let me have a look.
And I think he got lucky because the ball went out of play, so it gave him the amount of time he needed.
So he's looking, they're looking now.
Yeah.
How many seconds are going by? And then they've got to make...
So there's two decisions.
There's a view to make on that, if that was a dive or not. And that would probably have taken longer to make a decision.
But then can you make both decisions on one viewing where actually it's not a penalty and it's not a dive? Can it be like
there
that?
You go. This is the
Is
point.
that inconclusive on both sides?
And against like other sports, you've got various cameras looking, so you should look at them all.
If perhaps Neil Swarbrick had decided that was a penalty, then I think Martin Exton's then got to go and have a look at it again.
Yes. If he's got to change, if they think there is a decision that needs to be
clear
changed,
and obvious,
exactly, clear and obvious, factual problem, then he's got to go and have a look at it himself.
Surely it won't be just one look. He'll want to have two or three.
He'll have few angles.
And then he'll rub his eyes. And then he'll have another two or three.
Then he'll panic a little bit, and then he'll try and make a decision.